Man, how do I start this story? My parents like to travel around a lot. And during their travels, they like to take us to all these churches and revival type conferences because they were very much so involved in that type of thing. And one of those experiences, they took us to Florida, which was very hot. Like, I remember suffering because it was like the summertime, but we still went. And it was also during like hurricane season, so the weather was really, really all over the place. And they took us to these like really long, like revival type services. And sometimes they would go on for like anywhere from like 4 to 8 hours. And I felt like I was losing my mind sometimes. Like, honestly, I just, oh God, it was a lot. Like, after like an hour, like a clean cut hour, like I'm ready to just go home. And on top of that, a bunch of people were showing up to that event sick, like wanting to get prayer. And I'm like, oh no. So we got violently ill, like incredibly ill. So we spent a good chunk of the rest of that trip just stationed at an RV park. And I was sick, but I also was like bored. So I would constantly wander around outside and God damn it. What the fuck was that? Is that Shadow? So yeah, for some reason, this RV park was like in a swamp. And the employees there, when we checked in, they warned us. They said, be careful, there's gators outside. And I'm like, what? And for context, at the time, I was 19 years old. So I'm just this clueless 19-year-old wandering around looking for alligators. And there was this crazy guy that lived in an RV next to like the spot that we were renting. And I swear he was like on meth because the dude was just bugging all the time. He helped me take like a fishing rod and turn it into like this lasso type thing. So I could like, I'd cast the rod and it also like would lasso and like hook onto things so I could like reel it back in. So I was using that to like catch these big ass iguanas. They were anywhere from like 4 to 7 feet. And the largest one I caught was about 6.5 feet. And I was holding it and I was like, I almost kept the damn thing. Like, we had an extra dog crate and my dad's like, oh, you should keep this iguana. It's insane. But the thing was so fucking aggressive that it like whip cracked like its tail against my leg and it split open my calf. And that hurt. Like, the amount of sheer fucking force that came from its tail just immediately just like whip, split my skin right open like a grapefruit, and it was just gushing juice everywhere. Oof. So after catching a shitload of iguanas, I decided, what's the next plausible thing to do during all this shitty hurricane weather? I'm gonna catch an alligator. So I spent the rest of that day just like looking all over the place and trying to find an alligator. And they're harder to find because they're nocturnal, but when it's nighttime, it's hard to see them and then they'll just bite the fuck out of you. But I got really close to catching one. It was about like a medium-sized one, like maybe 4 feet. So probably like a year or so old. And I got like the lasso around it. And as I was like trying to like reel back in and like catch it, like the lasso snapped off and the alligator ran back into the lake. But I did grab its tail and I was just like, ah! But fuck, man, I almost got it. But after the lasso broke, I didn't want it to like rear its head back around and bite my arm and go to the ER because some dumb fuckhead in Florida was trying to catch an alligator, which for legal reasons, I did not keep it, okay? I did not keep it. I'm pretty sure that some of those alligators were endangered, but it was a good time nonetheless, hunting alligators and catching. The iguanas were insane. Like, there was hundreds of them, just these gigantic 6-foot lizards just free roaming in this swamp RV park, and they would just eat grass, and you'd be walking and you like start chasing them and they'd just be like scrambling and climbing up trees and jumping into the lake and all that shit. But yeah, I mean, at least I caught some iguanas, but the alligator just managed to slip right out of my fingers. Just my little buttery, swampy little fingers. Oh yeah, the first thing I saw when we got into Florida as well was a couple of guys dealing meth under a bridge, and then one of them got high and started screaming and like punching the other dude, and then an ambulance got called and they both got arrested. That was cool.